Good morning, happy Nurses Week and happy Thursday. My name is Annika, also known as @Caffeinated Scrubs here on Instagram, and as mentioned at Nurse.org's most recent post, I'll be taking over their page today just to share my nursing journey experience as well as share resources and answer questions. So this is pretty much a day dedicated to answering any questions you guys may have specific to being a new grad nurse, a student nurse, or any questions you guys may have about NCLEX. What I plan to do throughout the day is just share resources that I have about those or how I prepared for those, and then talk a little bit about my journey because I was asked to share how I ended up becoming a nurse, especially as a first-generation college graduate. Also, I just wanted to add what I mentioned in the post by Nurse.org, that my goal by the end of the day is to be able to encourage at least one person not to give up on their nursing journey, because you guys probably know how challenging it is to get through nursing school and how taxing it is on even your mental health. So with that said, again, my big goal by being able to share my story is that I'm able to encourage someone to not give up on theirs, because becoming a nurse was no joke. All right, so I spilled coffee. All right, so to begin my story, I am from a small island called Saipan. Saipan is a U.S. territory, and it's pretty much known as part of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. So I'm from there, and I moved out here, flew 6,000 miles away from home. It took me 30 hours to get here because of the multiple layovers, so it was like 4 stops. And where here is right now is the Pacific Northwest. So I moved out here to pursue higher education because I knew I wanted something better, not only for me but for my family, especially my mom, because she single-handedly raised me. And so the reason I moved out here is to be able to pursue higher education, to provide for my family, and to pursue my passion of care for people. And I thought that the best way for me to pursue that was through nursing. And so here's a brief background of how I ended up in the school that I did. So I ended up in a Bachelor of Science in Nursing program in a private university. It's a great school, but the way I applied for it, because where I'm from, I didn't really have a lot of resources on how to figure out what college to go to. We pretty much had one college in our island. So there's this app called Common App. I don't know if it's still a thing that people utilize nowadays, but it's pretty much you creating one college application, and that application is sent out to multiple schools. So my application was sent out to 16 schools, 16 random schools that I just applied to, and the first school that called me was the one that I fell in love with. They provided me with a lot of financial aid, but with that said, the way I financed my education is through scholarships. I applied to a lot of scholarships and worked multiple part-time jobs while I was in school, because I never wanted to ask my mom for money. Long story short, I was in that nursing program for 4.5 years. I did all my prerequisites within the university, and then I transferred into their nursing program, and I was in their spring cohort, so I just graduated this past December 2020, and then I finally passed the NCLEX exam this March 2021, and then I started my nursing residency this past April 2021. And my journey wasn't linear. I didn't pass the boards my first time, and I'll share more about it in my next In terms of my NCLEX journey, I have a separate post about that I'll share soon, but long story short, I wasn't able to make it through the first time just because I didn't give myself the break that I needed after graduating back in December. I still worked nonstop after I graduated, and I even studied while I was at work or on my day off, so I guess it came to a point where I was just doing too much. But when I finally set aside time to just solely focus on it, I was able to pass the exam within 75 questions. As a side note, I created @Caffeinated Scrubs, this page, in order to share my nursing school journey with all its ups and downs, in hopes that it will help those like me feel less alone in their journey, especially as me being a person of color pursuing a healthcare related field away from home. And so this page eventually evolved into sharing TikToks because I was coping through humor at the time through nursing school, and now it's pretty much bits and pieces of my life, and currently my journey as a new grad going through nursing residency. I try to be transparent about my journey in my own way because it helps me to hear other people's stories, and at the same time I'm hoping that by me being able to share my story that I'm able to help someone through theirs too. And so yeah. Hi again. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about my new grad nurse experience. As I mentioned earlier, I started my nursing residency program in a neuroprogressive care unit this past April 2021, so I'm almost a month in. And it's been a lot of learning. I think the transition from being a student to a nurse has been challenging, but in a good way. I feel like there has been a lot of growth in my part from the past few weeks that I have been oriented in the floor, and I have had really great preceptors. I feel like I'm in a very supportive environment, and I'm constantly asking questions as I go, slowly taking on patients, and it has been a remarkable experience. I feel like the personal interactions I get with the patients is always going to be my favorite part because, you know, we're there for them, and we're also, full transparency, I don't know if this is the same for new nurses out there, but for me, at the very beginning of my residency program, I had a lot of pre-shift anxiety or anxiety in general just because I'm completely brand new and because I'm still in that transition phase. And so if you do feel this way, I just want to let you know that you're not alone. You know, we're still growing and learning. And that's why the biggest thing for me that I take with me is to constantly just take things day by day. One of my preceptors told me, you know, you never know what to expect in the shift, and so you just take it as it is, and you know, you learn from it. And so that is my biggest, I guess, advice, to just take things day by day, learn from it, ask all the questions that you have, and definitely enjoy the growth. It's uncomfortable right now, but I know eventually with time, like, we'll get better. Alright, I think that pretty much sums up my time on here. Thank you so much for allowing me to have this space to share my journey as a new nurse on Nurses Week, even though Nurses Week should be pretty much every day. And I hope that my story was at least able to encourage someone to not give up on nursing school or nursing in general, because nursing in itself is hard. I think it takes a brave person to be able to pursue this wonderful career, and it definitely has its ups and downs, but this is when your determination comes into play. There's a word. But overall, if you guys ever need more resources, I know that Nurse.org has a lot of them. And if you guys have any more questions for me, you can always visit my page at Caffeinated Scrubs, DM me. I try to respond to messages as soon as I can. And yeah, happy Nurses Week again.